So,
yeah, welcome everybody to our education session for today, Tuesday, June 23rd. So I was kind of putting together an agenda for today. We can certainly, based on who's here and what everyone's interests are, we can adjust it. Can you hear us? You still with us, Tomislav? So, yeah, let me pull up an agenda I put together, and we can decide what direction we want to go for today. Okay. Well, a couple of thoughts I had earlier. I'll start from the bottom. Well, actually, starting from the top. There's a schema. I think it was it Tomislav who put the schema in the education channel. I guess there was a discussion on hopefully everyone can see this schema here. So I thought the schema, it's a nice graphic, and I think even though Tomislav's away from his computer, there's enough of us here that could probably elaborate on what that schema is about. So that's one area. Other things that we've talked about that we'd like to do during the session is, well, one thing I thought might be helpful is in GitHub. So we're making this transition to GitHub away from Jira. So we're actively working on our processes, templates, getting familiar with how to use issues and projects and milestones and all of these new aspects of getting oriented on in GitHub. So that's something we can talk about. And then thirdly, just a code review in GitHub of the RChain repository. As we start to get, the goal is to help us get familiar with the code base. So other than that, let me just sort of take a survey of everyone here. With those three items, or perhaps there's other topics that people have in mind that they'd like to discuss. Let's just sort of open it up to the floor for what people are interested in today.
Steve, can we get an update on kind of when we'll start putting together educational material for building web apps?
Educational materials for web apps.
Or the UI for a DApp. I mean, I'm for the UI for a DApp, if that's what the way it is.
Sure.
So you're not thinking just about Rholang part. You're thinking like both, like web part and Rholang part, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe we can sketch some examples that would be interesting to create.
Yeah, it's hello world for the UI.
Yeah. So maybe this client example that I created is maybe too complicated, right? For
no,
this,
I think the example's fine. It just doesn't explain anything, right? It doesn't start from a small example.
I see. Okay, yeah, maybe we can sketch something about that.
So to help me understand, is it the user interface, the layout of the web page, or is it how the web page starts to connect to the back end, that piece through WebSockets and gRPC and HTTP and all that?
Yeah, I think if you if you write a Rholang contract, just hello world, and then you want to call that contract from a UI, there's a number of different options, but you have to discover what the options are, like which SDK you use. You know, Thomas, I've did a great example of using that thing that in the browser you can put your private public keys to sign.
Okay.
Yeah. There's just a few things that make it great. You know, how do you use the insert sign now so that you can get a unique name that's stable for you to use? You know, so I mean, I'm just trying to say is that when I did it, the learning curve was a lot of bouncing around and searching and asking questions. And if we can make that easier to do, it'll be great.
Yeah.
I think you're right, because I didn't update this example after web API was created. So I think I just mentioned it, but yeah, I didn't explain. So yeah.
Okay. Well, perhaps let's. So based on that, but I'd be interested in discussing the schema that was posted in the education channel. Let me bring that back up here. Hopefully everyone can see that. So this is, here, let me, I guess I have to go back to the original question here. Let's see here.
So we were discussing about how Node can, how can we inside Rholang maybe deploy on some validator, and maybe this can be another validator. Maybe, so in this way, Node can communicate between two networks or two shards.
Okay.
So my idea was that we can have multiple tuple spaces, and each tuple space can represent one shard. So this is like a one state, or represents one network, and Node can work with multiple tuple spaces, right? Just receiving messages and switching between tuple spaces for which this message or this block is referring to. So that was my thinking, but.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was mostly interested in multiple tuple spaces on the local machine, not on the chain. So these additional power box functions or I/O processes, I was thinking about just on the local machine, not on the chain, because Rholang can be just normal language like any other language. And it needs all of these features like HTTP or all the other stuff. But I'm not connecting this directly to the chain, or what is good to put on the chain or what is not. For example, HTTP is very problematic on the chain. How to maintain always correct results and this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So explain again, what was the purpose of having multiple tuple spaces as opposed to having just one tuple space?
When we execute Rholang code, we really changing the state of the tuple space.
Okay.
And
so by having multiple tuple spaces, you can change the state of just one tuple space while the other two remain unchanged.
Yeah, and but we can see this also with only one tuple space. What is happening when we execute Rholang code and change this state, the tuple space? We can execute from one state. We can execute one Rholang code and move tuple space to another position, but we can execute some other Rholang code and move tuple space in another position. So we have this branching. So we can, from that perspective, we can already have multiple tuple spaces, right? Just by creating different states. So if we go back to the beginning and see how tuple space are created, it's created from empty tuple space, from nothing, right? From nil.
Right.
So we always have this option to create multiple tuple spaces.
Okay.
So I was mostly thinking about how to implement this, because now we are strictly related to one tuple space. We are initializing the tuple space when node starts, and everything is right correlated with this one tuple space. We cannot just switch and say, oh, we will now execute another Rholang code for different state.
Okay. I was just going to ask quickly, as far as having multiple tuple spaces, does that have a large impact on resources on the computer, or is that not something to be concerned with?
So it has impact, but mostly on the space, right? Because tuple space is like a state of the program.
Okay.
And when we execute a Rholang code, this can be like input parameter, right? So it doesn't matter if you are using always the same input as a state, or you have multiple ones. I mean, the question is maybe in the caching performance and this kind of stuff, right? So. Right, maybe you want maybe if you have multiple tuple spaces, you will need more memory and this kind of stuff. But this is something that it can be optimized for which shard you are connecting or which tuple space.
Understood. Okay, I'm sorry, Arthur. Go ahead. You had a question.
Yeah, because I mean, I have. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up on the conversation, but I thought that sharding was something we would do where we would have, for example, a shard in the US and a shard in Europe that run on different nodes, and you'd get scaling that way. But this seems to be having multiple tuple spaces. I mean, multiple shards on one VM, and I was just wondering what the driver for that was.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. So I'm just guessing how maybe if you're running your shard and you want to connect to the root shard, I'm not sure if this will be done with that way, that your node is running root and your child shard together, and you have some kind of contracts on both sides, and you are transferring the state in that way. So I'm not sure about that, how the sharding will be implemented then.
Okay, and then just the other.
Go ahead.
Sorry, then the other question I had was just the HTTP. Isn't it the case that you'll always have HTTP problems if it executes on different nodes? Because the HTTP, this HTTP request is always going to execute every time your contract executes in a validator.
Yeah, so maybe HTTP, you don't want to have HTTP on the chain, on the tuple space that is written on chain. So maybe you just want to have your on your local machine, like general purpose language, Rholang as general purpose language.
Yeah, I still have an issue with that. Why when we deploy something and it executes, why can't we do the HTTP just once? Why, when we validate or replay, do we have to do it again? In other words, we just take the result we got during the original deploy.
You mean if we have HTTP on the chain? So that.
What?
So but each validator will need to do the same thing.
Not necessarily. I mean, if you have it can be taken as a constant. The result can be taken as gospel. It doesn't have to be done by the other. shards when it's doing a replay, it's following the thread, right? And and we just keep on the thread the result of the original HTTP request, and don't repeat it. Okay, that would be the intention most of the time. Now, it may be some kinds of oracles you want to get every time, because you want to make sure you get the same result every time. But most accesses you want to get now, and you don't expect it's going to be the same later at all. If you get the price of Bitcoin from an oracle with an HTTP request, okay, it's going to be different the next time. Now, you may get results from 3 different oracles and compare them.
This way, you're saying that.
I'm not sure if you can do that. I mean, if you take exchange rate, for example, like let's say you have an oracle which gives you exchange rate or temperature or time. You want that to be the same every time. And I'm not sure if you can have only one contract executing the HTTP, whether that kind of violates the whole distributed state machine principle.
Well, that's it's an external. It's an external effect. It's not. We don't have the same expectation. We can't have the same expectation. We either don't have any capability, or we have a capability that we know we can't trust. So we have to write the code in order to validate it. We can't expect that RChain is going to validate it for us, because it won't. It's an external process. Not validated in RChain.
I'm motivating for us to not have this capability.
Okay, it looks like we lost Thomas Slav, so hopefully he'll be able to reconnect with us. So yeah, I guess it's what we're talking about, certainly up for debate. So let's see here. Let's see here. Go ahead.
It's like most of the client code in our, well, like for example, Robot, it used the val to run processes in Rholang that were never posted to the chain. When we write a client, we do HTTP requests and we send constants to the chain. Okay. I don't see why I can't write client code in Rholang.
I think because, well, I don't know, the contract by definition executes on all validators, but in a client in the browser, it executes on one. But I don't know, you're right. I mean, it could go either way. I've got into trouble with HTTP now. So, and when you had problems, it kind of blew up the whole node. You have to rebuild the network. So it wasn't used.
I don't think RChain can succeed in a vacuum. I think it has to connect to the legacy world, and there's a couple ways to do that. I think that Thomas Slav is trying to, I guess, separate the client Rholang from the chain physically. My view is that we need to have an interface, and whether we have whether we consider our local client to be not on any chain, or whether we consider it to be its own shard, is has impact on the utility and the application potential.
Yeah, but so I thought the direction that I was moving in was is to, for example, the I/O process. That would be for example, a WebSocket on top of listen for data on name. Instead of where Tomislav is I/O API, that would be a WebSocket on top of listen for data at name, as opposed to using HTTP pushing out from Rholang.
Well, yeah, I mean, a WebSocket, HTTP, same thing. It's an external process.
Right,
okay,
but the API.
What would be what's the thing is that when you use gRPC, when you do deploys, you have an external process, but it's talking the same language. It's you're deploying code from one shard to another, or from your client Rholang to your chain Rholang, or your local shard to the main shard or something deploy. I mean, it's still going to be WebSocket or whatever, but it's a question of
I'm just I'm saying that we cannot depend that directly on the calling external world from execution what will be written on chain. So from the perspective of client, we have two operations that we can do on to change the chain. We have deploy as a write operation, and we have one operation to change the state, and another operation is to read the state. And so deploy is something that we need to do. We need to sign our proof that changes that we are suggesting or executing are correct.
Right. So that's the. I don't know if we lost you again, Thomas, but that's the other thing is.
And we have enough for just whole interface. All of these protocols should.
I think Tomislav is cutting in and out.
Should be the same thing, right? Whatever you need in some situation, but Jim, what you are suggesting is this push operation. Oh, sorry. Do you hear me?
I hear you some. What I'm proposing
Hello,
is that one shard can deploy code on another shard.
We lost him. Okay.
Yeah, I almost could hear what he said.
Yeah. So
now there's problems with it. Just being able to deploy code on another shard and getting a result is, doesn't solve all the issues. I mean, there's still a lot of issues that have to be solved, but I guess my point is that we can address them in Rholang.
okay. All right. And so here, let me. Let's see here. Okay. All Oh, Tom Slop is, okay. Let's see if he's able to come back. He's
He may have
reconnecting.
given up. He wrote in the channel, sorry, my connection is unstable.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what we can do, maybe other things we can discuss here is review some of the process improvements in GitHub, and then look at the RChain repository code review. Let's see here. Okay, he's still having some problems here. Let me just pull up GitHub. So actually, I think last week or recently, I think we talked about RChip proposals, and so we have an issues tab. So whenever there's something that meets the criteria of potentially being an RChip, just head here to the RChip proposal issue tab and open up a new issue, and that starts the process of a review. Now there's still debate as far as what meets the criteria of something going into an RChip issue, but that's outside of the scope of this group. That's more for the technical governance group to address. Yeah, it's and ultimately, we have a wiki page here, so we'll incorporate that at some point, and we've got the use of labels and so forth. So yeah, it's taking shape. And then if we head over to oh, and I think there was templates in now, and I'm not totally up to speed on opening up a GitHub issue, but I think there should be, or maybe it's under code. Okay, templates. So we have, and we may have already gone over this, but just in case. So we have the issue template to use when opening up an issue. So we have ask a question, suggestions, and open a proposal, and just so they're I guess they're kind of a work in progress, but we'll have templates to follow to make things easier. So at least that's the goal. And then the core development team, they're working towards making that migration to GitHub away from Jira for issue tracking, and I guess I think we have NutZipper on the call. So this might be a question for NutZipper or any of you guys on the core development team, as far as when the broader community has issues. So are we working towards being able to open up issues in GitHub? Is that the goal, or is this going to be strictly for?
Can you speak? My connection is totally bad.
Oh, hey, Tom Slop. We're talking about GitHub now.
But, we have issues. So.
Yeah, some of the process improvements that are happening, and for the community, when the community has issues with RChain platform, I guess ultimately is the goal for the community to be able to go to the RChain repository in GitHub and open up an issue. Is that where we're heading to?
That's already been enabled. It's already happening.
It's already happening? Okay.
And there's 4 issues. 4 issues have been entered.
Okay. Okay, well.
And you know, and it's open for anybody to write an issue. So it works like every other open source project.
Okay, good. And then we have another feature over here called milestones. So this will be kind of nice if you want to look at particular milestones that are occurring or we're working towards. You'd be able to click on the milestone and get some more information on what it takes to get that accomplished. So that's kind of nice. So let's see here. I'm just kind of looking around. Okay, go ahead.
How did you get the milestone? I get
Milestone. So over here, if you're next to the green button, new pull request, there's a button, milestones. If you click on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I clicked on the pull down and it showed me the list of them.
Yeah. So here, if you click on 9. Well, let's see here. 9.25. Okay. So all the issues that were there for 9.25, they've been, so these were all the issues that work towards completing 9.25, and they've all been completed, so they're all closed. So yeah, so then if we go into 9.26, so these are some of the issues that the core team's working on to complete 9.26. So and then with as I understand it, with 9.26, with the release of that, then we'll have that'll be the last piece for implementing last finalized state. At least that's how I understand it. And then I'm curious if we go into last finalized state. So yeah. Okay.
So there's the label tab there. Also, you can look at the labels.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Top there, it's labels or milestones. Oops.
So yeah. Okay. Yeah. Labels. Yeah. Well, labels just. I think that just provides the list of available labels.
And how many issues are under each one? So if you wanted to look for Python projects, or you wanted to look at any, future.
Oh, yeah, I learned something new. I didn't think to click on one of the labels. Yeah, that makes sense. So if I click on enhancements, I get all the enhancements.
Right, and here you can click on, if you click on bug, for example, here it'll take you to the bugs.
Okay. Okay. Neat. Well, I'm still learning how to get around. So, okay, that was helpful.
Or the high priority, you can get those.
Yeah, high priority. So, okay, so we've got EOS reward state containing negative values. Okay. So neat. Well, hopefully this migration to GitHub, everyone will be happy with the new format.
Now, there's nothing under projects, but that's something we could take advantage of.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't have any insight on that. I don't know if anybody else does. How do you anticipate using projects? Any thoughts?
Projects are related to Kanban style, like tables with different states of issues.
Okay.
It might make more sense for us to put projects in the RChain Community GitHub.
So these projects will be for us to manage our issues, our tasks.
Okay.
Yeah, it provides the Kanban project management tool. I guess that's about it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And Jim's, and since you mentioned the community repository, why don't we just head over there and take a peek and see all the activity that's been going on? Because we do have a lot going on in RChain Community. I'm not sure why I'm not finding it here.
You mean this is another organization?
Oh, well, the RChain, here, I guess it's separate. Yeah, I guess it's separate from, there we go. So okay, yeah, I had to get out of, it's a complete separate repository. So it's the RChain Community repository. And in here, this is where we'll find some of the MVPs that are being worked on for the RChain platform. So we have the RV 2020, which is for the voting, and then in Zulip. So that's been a big effort that's going on now with the goal being to use Zulip as a means for identification, ID, and for voting, ultimately for our October annual general membership, and then also as a chat application to ultimately someday take the place of Discord. So that's in Jim and Theo, and along with Dan Conley, they're working on that effort. So that the Zulip is what we would call as the RChat. Okay. Let me just take a peek here in the RV 2020. So yeah, anyone, you're all welcome to go in there and explore and see what's happening. So, and Dan Conley, he's making great use of GitHub, and he's a GitHub pro using it. So if you go into issues, he's got the labels, you've got all the issues there, and you can kind of get a sense of what where the state of affairs is for that. Let me go back into the Zulip. I'm curious to see if there's issues for the Zulip as well. Let's see here. Okay, there's no issues just yet.
Look at the branches. Look at the branches.
Look at the branches. Okay.
This is a fork. This is a fork of original repository. This is not our custom code.
Good point. Yeah.
Okay, see the one down below, VS Code Debug?
Okay.
That's was done by Theo, and this lets us run the Zulip under Windows System for Linux, and with the debugger. I'm going to steal the.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
For a second here.
Yeah.
I think I can show. So here I can look at. Well, here we publish a message. Okay, so I put a breakpoint here, which I just so that it was the execution stopped when I came here, and I can look at the value of the variables. I can live, and I can step through to see what's happening, and So if I wanted to write this message to RChain here, I would know exactly what I had, and I could you know, look at where is it? I guess I don't have it anymore, but oh well. So this is great. If
Yeah.
you work on the code, it makes it really easy, especially if you need to, if you're learning Python, see exactly what happens is helpful.
Right. So the Zulip open source program, so is it primarily written in Python?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, and you know, if we're going to interface it to RChain, we use the RChain calls to access the RChain from the Zulip code base, which I, you know, could do here. I mean, originally I was thinking that we could use the publish subscribe mechanism that Zulip uses to interface to RChain as maybe the only interface to RChain. Because whenever I put a message on a channel, it uses the it publishes on a message queue. And but in looking at in following through the execution here, I find that it uses a message queue for a million different things. It does so many queue operations that I'd be hesitant to put them all on RChain at this point. Although we will probably have to have something similar at some point, but you know, Dan's been taking the approach to trap when it writes messages to the database, and then it can write messages to, then you can put those into onto RChain. But I'm a little bit discouraged because it looks like the interface to Zulip is going to be a lot of work. And I was hoping we could use it for voting, but I doubt it'll be ready. And Dan started a simple interface.
So actually, that kind of brings us full circle, I think, to Arthur's question of the web UI. So thanks for reminding me of that, Jim. Let me see if I'm going to share my screen again and see if I can find that what Dan was, and I'm not sure where I saw it. I think originally I saw it in the Colab Discord, but it brought me to.
I think it was in development in the main Discord.
Okay, so here, let me.
Or probably both places.
Let's see here.
Go back. There it is. Oh, that's not it.
Here, let me do a search here. See if if search actually is useful in. So bear with me here.
Huh. I don't know.
And I thought it was so web. So let me go into where I thought I saw it, which is in the collab.
Yeah, I think I made a mistake there.
Well, yeah, and that's the challenge with Discord is trying to find stuff. So
I just found a branch in RChain Community RV 2020 called Web UI. I think that's what
okay. Yeah, maybe that's it. So RV 2020 and okay, here we go. Web UI. So now I haven't really looked at it or explored, but you know, we were talking about web UIs earlier.
Yeah,
so
there's a directory here, Web UI, in this branch.
Oh, okay.
And that's the current state. I haven't reviewed it either, but I think he's figuring out what Thomas Love gave us with the sample client.
Okay.
Try to make use of it to make a simple voting interface here.
So
he's the first one to the first guinea pig to follow Thomas Love's lead here.
okay.
Well, I shouldn't say the first. Other people have done it.
So yeah, so there's some someone who's working with trying to figure out web UI as well. So the more of us working on that and sharing, and that now we're aware of everyone who's working on it and learning from each other's work, maybe we'll all learn together. So okay. So we got about another 10 minutes or so. Anyone? Let's see. I'm not sure. Let's see here. Code review. That's probably too ambitious for remaining 10 minutes. And then, yeah, educational materials. I think as ultimately, you know, we want to, you know, we need someone in the position of a technical writer. You know, with that role being filled, you know, having a lot of materials that we can all reference will be helpful in the future for all of us to learn from. But, you know, we work with what we have at the moment.
But did we agree on where the material would be? I mean, was it going to be a GitHub wiki or what? Is there already a place to put, or are you still figuring that out?
Yeah, we're still working that out. As far as, yeah, yeah, we don't have a central repository for
Do you have any update on that, Ian? Where the documentation goes? I guess Ian's can't talk right now. But I thought, I mean, certainly the website stuff, I think is, we wanted to follow the, use GitHub for the website. And
yeah,
the question was, you know, are we using the existing website, or are we using something new, more like the we have all that content under Rholang GitHub IO.
So as far as the state of the RChain website, so it's in the process of getting refreshed. So Ian's going through and making updates. You know, a lot of information is outdated, so he's getting that updated. And then ultimately, what will happen is the whole website will get migrated to GitHub as a new home. So GitHub will be the place where people will be able to submit pull requests, if they see things that are outdated or they want to improve or so forth. You'll be able to go into this repository, submit pull requests. It will open up issues. So, there's things you open up issues, but ideally, if someone, if depending on your skill level, if you have something that needs to be updated or changed, actually you go and make the pull request, and then have it reviewed, and then have the website updated. So this is all sort of in the transition period right now, and then ultimately, as far as education material, training material, the goal is for it to be easy to find, easy to access. So, when that material does become available, the goal, I'm sure, will be to go to the website, and then from there it'll be able to direct you to where that material is. It's just at this point, we're still a work in process.
Is there a timeline? A week, a month, a year?
So yeah, I don't. It's this is more of a think in terms of months. So we're using the resources that are available, and being short-staffed. So this is it is a priority, but we just don't have RChain doesn't have the manpower to make those things happen just yet. So hopefully in the coming months we'll see that addressed.
Arthur, do you recommend read the document?
Sorry, I think that was.
I was asking Arthur if he recommends read the docs, or what he recommends for a place for this kind of documentation.
I didn't really have a recommendation. I just wanted to contribute, but without being able to contribute to anything, it kind of pushes this training further down the road. So even if you've got a something that will eventually be become the final thing, we can contribute to what you have now.
Right. I mean, all the websites are up on GitHub. Take pull requests. We're migrating them over to GitHub Pages, and then I think the next week, the documentation we have right now is pretty scattered and outdated. So it makes sense, I guess, keep everything in one place on GitHub. I'm just wondering what might be the most user-friendly way for people to access it, to get at it. Unless we've read the docs, I was wondering if there was something better.
Well, what we have is we have Rholang.github.io, which generally is much more up to date, much more informative than the current website, where we have where we make pages in Markdown language in GitHub, and and all the information is in one place. And okay, that's the blog feed, so we could, because the information here is pretty much up to date, it makes sense that if we want to contribute something right now, we can, that's where we can put it. And Ian's right. I mean, if we see something on the website we want to fix, Okay, it's a little bit of a pain right now because it's, you know, it's HTML and style sheets and all that bullshit, which confuses some folks. But you can make changes there. But if you're updating, if you want to update the most up-to-date information, it's probably on the Rholang.github.io, which we, you know, we do have, you know, it's under community control as opposed to, I don't know, Dan has admin rights, and Toby, I don't know who else has, but you know, several people that are have access to it. So if we make a pull request there, we can be pretty sure it's going to get, you know, attention pretty quick and put in.
Great.
Maybe I can give a 2-minute DAPI update.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So I had a talk with Greg, so I'll explain what I'm working on. Okay. So so this is all coming in the next release. So there will be an update on the ERC 1155 manager with extended capabilities such as data on bags. Bags is synonym of token ownership. So you might have a token which is a car, and then you might have some people who own 2 or 3 cars. And then so the car data is the token data, and then the bag data is, for example, the color of each car. So each ownership of a car, you might set up some properties. So the owner of the bag is the one that can update the data that is associated with the bag and the tokens within the bag. So, so there is this additional management. This is how I do the colors in the cells of the hexagons application. It is stored in with each bag, there is a color associated. Then we will be able to send tokens. Is it? No, it's not yet in the list, but basically you have a bag of 50 tokens. You can just split it into 2 bags and associate another public key to one of the 2 bags. Or it can even be the same public key, because maybe you want to associate different data to one bag and the other bag, or maybe you want to set to put a price on one bag and not on the other bag, because you don't want to sell all the tokens you own. So those are updates coming in next release. And of course, you also have the possibility to deploy a new contract anytime. Just deploy a brand new ERC 1155 and then you create tokens. And then there is also this new, so it will be available in the default applications. So it's a page application. It's very simple. You have a personal page, so you can update it if you have deployed it. You just have to use the same private key when you send the transaction. So you have a title here, and then the content of the page, and you have a URL of your own that you can share on Discord. And yes, in the next release, you will be able to share links like this one that instantly open DAPI browser when you share them on the web. So this is the main thing that is coming. And then also the badges. So for example, in my local, no, it's not there. But for example, you have the RChain Co-op website. So let's say Greg or Jan manages this website. And eventually you have other websites that are related to RChain. and somehow the owner of RChain Co-op wants to give credit to those third-party websites. So this is the concept of badge. So for example, you will be able to add badges and store them with your name on the blockchain. For example, DAPI or RChain Doc or any kind of other name on the DAPI name system. And then when people visit DAPI on the DAPI browser, they will see a small badge telling them that RChain Co-op approves the content on this page. So this is this will be half released in the next release, but ultimately it's been it's coded at 80%, so but it will not be complete in the next release.
So just a point of clarification. So take, for instance, that example of the RChain Co-op website, and it has there's third-party websites out there. So is it RChain Co-op that issues the badge to the third-party websites? And the RChain Co-op is they manage the badges through their interface. Is that correct?
Yep. For example, when I will hit the update or the purchase button, if I do it with the update name, yes. No, it won't work. So I have to show you through this interface. There is no insurance going on, or it's all you just associate a list of names to your name, and then other third-party applications don't have to approve anything. Maybe they will just have the possibility to not want to be credited by anyone, but by default, the DAPI website will have a small badge telling the user that RChain Co-op approves what's in the DAPI.tech website, for example.
So I guess I'm trying to understand the authority of issuing the badges. Who is giving who has the authority of issuing the badges?
The owner of the name. For example, RChain Co-op will be managed by a member of the board of the co-op.
Okay.
So this identity, so the one that owns the private key associated with this name will be able to update the list of badges, eventually remove them.
Okay, they create the badges, but if there's these third-party websites, for a badge to appear on a third-party website, to be certified, to be allowed for that badge to occur, the third party doesn't do that. I mean, that would be. I guess that's the part where I'm not quite clear.
So the badge will just be some small thing appearing on the top. Oh, I'm sorry. Something's going wrong. What's going on? I will relaunch. But basically, it will be just a small thing appearing. Eventually, I will make it possible for the owner of a name to refuse badges from other parties. But it will just be a small
oh, okay.
And so the goal is to create some sort of reputation web, and for some names to kind of have a friend list or a trust list of other names.
Okay, neat. Yeah. Great work, Raphael. All right. Well, we're at the top of the hour, and I think this was a good session. We learned some new stuff. So if anyone has any topics that they would like to discuss for next week, just put them in the education channel, and this session we'll be putting it up on YouTube here very soon. All right, any other final thoughts or questions before we finish for today? All right, thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye.